And welcome to the Midday Show. I'm Jeff Ever. He is Mark Messina. There's too many twos in today's date. We're going to talk about it. We're also going to talk about a handshake line debacle over the weekend, if you haven't heard about this yet. My take's a little different, though, because I don't understand why people are allowed to ruin things for everybody else. We're going to talk about that soon. A crazy Twins story, if you haven't heard about this yet, out of Virginia. Penn State THON had another great weekend. And then it's the anniversary. Do you believe in miracles? So we're going to talk about that as well.
Yes.
To get to a lot of clickbaity stuff, but we're here for it. Before we get to all the good stuff, Mark, I just realized I referred, like, your feelings aren't part of the good stuff. I didn't mean it that way. But Mark, how are you feeling?
Well, you will quickly find out how good I am feeling because it wasn't yesterday. It was Sunday. I was all ready for yesterday. Okay. But I had my first Shamrock Shake of the season.
Go ahead. I have a good story for you. Go ahead.
Delicious. Have I ever told you my Shamrock Shake story?
I think you did.
Because I'll tell it again. So this was probably 10, 15 years ago.
Real quick, before you tell us, I think this was one of the first episodes we ever did.
Could have been.
I think so.
Could have been. Because it's right around that time of year.
This is one of the first stories we ever did.
So I'm at the McDonald's outside of the mall. And next year at this time, you may be saying it's the McDonald's outside of where the mall used to be, yes. The Lycoming Mall.
Possible.
But anyway, so I will be the first to admit that the Shamrock Shake is not the most manly of drinks. And I'm there in the middle of the day. Kids are in school, so it is just there's like 4 or 5 adults standing around. So I order my meal, and they put up the trays. And the first thing that goes on the tray is a Shamrock Shake. And it's, minty green with the whipped cream on top. So I pick it off the tray and I just lick like the whipped cream. And I set it back down on the tray. So then a couple seconds later, the girl behind the counter brings food up and sets the food on the tray. And I realize this is not my order. So, never in my wildest dreams did I figure one of the other adults would order a Shamrock Shake there. So I realize this, and I'm standing by the tray waiting for my food, and then, of course, it's not my food. And I looked at the girl across the counter, and I was like, oh, this isn't my shake. And I hear this burly, grumbly voice behind me goes, well, it is now. And I turn around. There's this, hillbilly redneck guy with a beard. For a moment, I'm afraid I'm going to get my ass kicked over Shamrock Shake. But then he kind of smiled and laughed. And when the girl brought the next one out, we just swapped. But then I felt good because if this dude could order a Shamrock Shake, I can too. And, if it's a man enough drink for him, it's certainly man enough for me. So that is my Shamrock Shake story.
Heather's with you. Shamrock Shakes are the best. Here, I'm going to say it right now. I'm out on the Shamrock Shake. Not a fan. Just minty, toothpastey. It's not for me.
It's minty, but it doesn't make it toothpastey.
It's kind of toothpastey. It feels like you're just swallowing toothpaste. Does it not?
No.
You can't get over.
So you don't like mint ice cream?
No, I don't. I don't. Mint chocolate.
Sad.
I mean, I can tolerate mint chocolate chip. I can't. Honestly, the ice cream itself, I can tolerate. Once you put it into milkshake form, you're just swallowing toothpaste. I mean, that's what it feels like. Or ice cream. No, it feels like toothpaste.
Well, Shamrock Shakes are delicious, and even the big burly bearded guy knows it too. So now I feel a little better about myself, and I had one the other day, and it was just as delicious as it was last year. It may have even been better.
We sat in line at McDonald's last night. I was with a group of friends and my girlfriend, and we went to the McDonald's drive-thru. And we sat in line. This was after dinner. We sat in line for a solid, 15, 20 minutes. It wasn't awful. I'm not complaining about the waiting in line. And everyone got their milkshakes, and I did not get one because I do not like Shamrock Shakes. And the obnoxious, the pure enjoyment of everybody else enjoying something around you, and you were just kind of, sitting there. It was very obnoxious. So your friends are this enlightened that they all, after dinner, all just wanted a Shamrock Shake for dessert. Yeah.
You have smarter friends than I thought.
I don't know if that's a compliment.
No, it is. It is. They are to go out of their way to get a Shamrock. See, I didn't go out. I was just getting food.
See, I'm with Spring. I don't like minty drinks or food either. If I want a mint, I'll have a mint. It just feels I just can't get past it. Swallowing toothpaste, that's what you're doing. I can't get past it. It's like a mental block. It never crosses your mind.
The only thing that crosses my mind is how delicious it is.
So like when you're brushing your teeth this morning, did you think, boy, this is just like a Shamrock Shake? Like, did that ever cross your mind?
No.
No.
But one of, and there are, I understand there are like 50 really good flavors of ice cream. And as society's gone on, they've made more and more.
Yeah.
But like the green mint chocolate chip has always been one of like my top two.
Okay.
Always.
All right.
So,
To each their own.
and I know there is the mint, non-mint. My kids are not overly mint people, but they're wrong too. It's okay.
I love that everybody else is just wrong.
They're wrong.
Too many twos in today's date. Today, go ahead. It's 2/22/22, but this goes a little bit deeper. I don't know if you know about this yet.
Well, if you write it out,
Yep.
the 22nd day of February, 2022,
Okay.
it is 220,
Yep.
22,
Yep.
022,
Yes.
which means it's a palindrome
Yes.
because it's the same from front to back,
Correct.
but it's also that other word that it's the same upside down and right side up.
Correct.
I don't know what that word is. Palindrome is front to back.
Yes.
So it is like the fanciest day of all time. And in an hour and a little bit, it's going to be 222 on
2/22.
And also, if you wait till 10/22 in military time, it will be 22/22
Okay.
on all these. So there's a lot of twos today.
Okay. Well, I'm about to be Negative Nancy. I'm Negative Nancy. Go ahead and reset your mic, just so that I know that it's good. Turn it on and turn it off, just so that I think I don't come through.
Are we?
Here's my.
Wait, you want me to turn it off? Really?
Yeah. For real.
Oh, okay.
I'm just being common.
Here's my issue with it. I have to restructure the way I write the date in order to make this all work.
No, I get that too, because when I first looked at it, I was like, well, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So yes, you do have to finagle.
I'm not trying to ruin the day. I'm not trying to.
People write that
Yeah.
It's 222, not 22.
Yes. So I'm not saying people can't enjoy the day. I'm not saying it's not really cool and neat. I'm just saying that like when I had to write down the date on a couple of Post-it notes today, and it does not do what people are saying it does.
I am with you. You make a very fair point.
Okay, that's valid. Do you want to do? I feel like we should save the handshake line debacle. Do you want to do the twins? Do you want to do Thon? Let's mention Thon really quick.
Let's just do this because there's no more than a mention. Well,
Okay.
Yeah, no, let's mention Thon. Thon is good.
Yeah, let's mention Thon. Penn State, for those of you who don't know, they do it's basically a dance-a-thon, essentially, in the Bryce Jordan Center. They have broken records in previous year. Because of COVID, it's kind of taken a step back from breaking the record. There was a span there where they were breaking it. There was like a 3-year, 4-year window where it felt like every year they were breaking the record.
Well, it is the highest
Yeah.
grossing student-run fundraiser in the world.
Yes. It's incredible.
So it is incredible.
So they raised over $13 million again. And then I want to say it was 13.6 is what the record was.
And change, yeah.
Yes. So that is the new record for Thon. It is, if you've never been before, I've only been once, and it is, you kind of have to see it to understand it.
I
Go
didn't know you could go.
Hmm?
You can go.
Well, so I dated a girl who was in a sorority, and her sorority was part of the people raising money for it.
Okay.
So I got in with her and was able to like be inside the Bryce Jordan Center.
You know, you have a lot of stories that start with "I dated a girl."
Because that's how most of my stories went. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I don't know. But her.
And what's crazy is you dated one for like 5 years.
I did first, like right
Were
out of
you
college.
ever single?
I was single. But see, this is the part of it too. A lot of the people that I dated, these were like 6 to 12 month relationships, and then it kind of like, and then it was done, and then
It's like a lease.
kind of.
Your
I
lease
mean, a
expired
little.
and you don't
Well,
renew it.
listen, they weren't my leases. Let's put it that
They
way.
were
I
not
was
renewing the
no.
lease?
There you go. Yes.
So this is what I'm even picturing, and we got away from Thon, which is, so either you were that insecure that you couldn't be single and you needed to bounce from girl to girl, or you were that in demand that the moment you became single, they were just knocking at your door?
I don't think it was either of those things. No, honestly, I don't. I don't think it was either of those things. We will have an episode where we can walk through the history of this if you want to. And listen, here's the funny part. I actually think most of the time with this stuff, like I'm very self-deprecating, or I try to like play it off like it's not a big deal. I actually do think it would be entertaining.
Can we get some of them on the phone?
Probably. That's probably could. So anyway, back to Thon. I was able to go in one time, and it is like, it's incredible. Like if you ever get a chance to go in, if you ever get an opportunity to be a part of it, jump on it, take advantage of it. It is really, really neat. It's the biggest.
I mean, just the fact that it's the biggest in the world.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yep. And it is in like, how many times have you gone to
pediatric cancer?
Yes. And how many times have you gone to people do like the walkathons or they do all this stuff, and realistically, like there's no expectation once you're there. Just people donated their money, walk the laps, don't walk the laps. The point is that like people have donated and it's working. This is one of the rare occasions where like it is so like people dance the entire time.
They don't sleep.
They rotate. So what a lot of groups do is they'll swap in and out.
Okay.
Because the group is represented. So if I'm part of a fraternity and we have a section, we may dance for like 8 hours, and then someone comes, taps us on the shoulder, and we tap out, and they step in and they're dancing the whole time. Now, there are people that will participate the whole time. Like they will go the distance and will do the entire thing. So
I'm delirious and they
sure. Absolutely. 100%. Well, it's for the kids. That's what they say. It's for the kids. You're not doing it to be a good dancer. You're doing it for the kids. FTK. FTK for the kids.
There you go.
Okay. So really, really neat. Congratulations to them. And again, it is like the idea. I think sometimes, listen, Penn State isn't perfect. It's gotten its fair share of down publicity, but there are things that Penn State does that you just forget it's in the middle of Pennsylvania and it's happening around you. Like it is the largest fundraiser in the world.
Really, this is the best of Penn State.
Yes.
There's nothing better about Penn State than Thon.
I would agree with that statement. I really, really would.
The biggest in the world is pretty good. Okay, Miracle on Ice.
You want to do Miracle on Ice? Go ahead.
42 years ago today.
Okay.
Quick, we'll throw this out. We'll give people a chance to chew on it.
Okay.
I had a buddy that posted.
Yep.
It is the greatest American sports story ever.
Okay.
Is there a better one?
It's a good question. Without thinking about it, is there a better American sports story?
You've seen the movie, right?
I've seen the movie, and I've actually seen like most of the game. So this is so stupid. For some reason, I had a buddy in college who once pulled it up, and we just watched it, like for no reason, just like kind of having a drink or two and just watching the game.
The thing that people, if you don't know, we beat the Russians in the semifinals. It wasn't even the finals for the gold medal. After we beat the Russians, I think we had to beat Finland or something. But we had just played the Russians like 3 weeks before in an exhibition and gotten crushed. And we lost 10-3.
Okay.
And when you give up 10 goals in hockey, it's like, it's worse than giving up 10 touchdowns.
It's a lot.
10. And so that's the fact, the David versus Goliath. And there are so many neat things about it. It was when it was broadcast in prime time because it was the Lake Placid Olympics. So it was broadcast at 8 p.m. But the game was played earlier.
Right.
So because it was 1980 and because they didn't have internet or texting or whatever, when you were watching it, a lot of people didn't even know how it turned out. Even though the world already knew, it was just different.
So here's some other ones. It's hard to dispute that it's not the greatest American sports moment. Here's some other ones. 1999 Women's World Cup. I believe that
was when Brandi Chastain ripped her shirt off.
Yes. And they beat China. That was a big one. Jesse Owens winning gold at the 1936 Olympics.
Okay. That would be in the argument.
That one's up there. These ones, I don't know if I throw them in that same category. Michael Phelps comeback in 2008 Olympics because he was trying to get was it 7 or 8? He was trying to get the record. Bobby Jones golf grand slam. 1992 Dream Team, not necessarily the moment, but just like the culture, just like the yes.
Does it have in there? Does it have with Georgeville High School being Bethlehem Catholic? And
It does not. It does not. No. Here's an interesting one that you wouldn't typically think of, and then I have another one that's not on here, and I'm surprised. The Mets Phillies game when they announced that Bin Laden had been killed. Do you remember that at all? That was a pretty big, as like when you think of like American sports moment, that was a pretty big one. The crowd started chanting USA, like the entire crowd. It was like they could have canceled the baseball game, and people would have stayed in the stands and like chanting and like drinking and like celebrating America regardless. That was a pretty big one. The one that's not on here that really surprises me is and I always forget her last name, but the gymnast who landed on one leg.
Oh, Carrie Strug.
I think that I always thought that was up there. Now, whether or not you want to compare that to Miracle on Ice, I get it, but okay. I mean, she landed on one.
And then she did the Pelican real quick.
You can when your leg is in that condition, you landed on one. The other leg's just there. I get what you're saying.
I get it. I'll tell you one that I don't. When you think of all that it meant and how much it changed the sports world, Tiger Woods winning the Masters as a 21 was a big deal.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Because not just because he was so young and he set the record at the Masters, but a black kid winning the Masters in an all-white sport. And I know it wasn't totally all-white.
No, but I get your point. Yeah.
No, Carrie Struggs was a big. For Olympic moments, Carrie Struggs was special.
Yeah.
But I don't.
The other one, and you and I have talked about it before too, is Bush's first pitch after 9/11.
Yes, and I was going to say Bush's first pitch was big. Whitney Houston singing the Desert Storm was big.
Forgot about that.
But I also think, the call of Al Might, do you believe in miracles?
Sure.
Has amplified the moment. And Aruzioni scoring the game winner.
Yeah.
And he was the captain. And if HBO or Showtime or Cinemax or one of them is not playing Miracle tonight, shame on them.
I'm sure somebody will. I'll let you decide again. You want to go handshake or you want to go twins?
Both these stories are great. You call. You can't go wrong.
Let's go with the handshake line, because since we just did some of the sports stuff, but also I just have a different take on this, and I just think it goes deeper than sports. So just to run down, if you missed it this weekend, Michigan and Wisconsin played a college basketball game. Wisconsin was winning the game handily, I guess would be a fair way to put it. Michigan was still pressing. Wisconsin called a timeout. Michigan took offense to it. The key point here is that as they were walking through the handshake lines, there was an altercation between the coaches in the sense of it looked as if one coach didn't want to shake the other hand's coach. That coach put his hands onto the other coach. That coach then took offense to the fact that he touched him. The crowd, the two lines kind of gathered together, and while they were in it, I don't know what was said. I don't know exactly what triggered it, but the Michigan head coach basically reached across. His fist wasn't clenched, but he essentially went to try to slap one of the other assistant coaches for Wisconsin. And this has been the debate to me isn't what the debate should actually be, because what the debate has come down to is, should they have handshake lines still? Do you have an opinion? So here's my take on that. I think that there should be handshake lines. However, I do think the point of why do we have handshake lines is a fair question. Like in today's age, we just went through 2 years without having handshake lines because of COVID. Everybody knows each other. If you want to text the coach after the game, nice job, or you want to tell the opposing player hey, good effort, good game, we have all these different ways to do that now, where 30 years ago, you might never see the person again. You may never hear or see from the person again. So you congratulate them, you shake hands, you show good sportsmanship. Now there's all these different ways to do that. All these kids know each other from AAU and all this different stuff. I certainly understand the merit that like it's not as important as it used to be, but I'm still pro handshake line.
No, I agree. And there are sports, baseball does not have one. Not like professional baseball.
Okay.
The football does not have one. Football is
Okay.
just kind of like a hodgepodge.
Okay.
You see like an NFL, the quarterbacks meet.
Sure.
They kind of meet in groups. Like the linemen who played against each other meet, the quarterback meets, and it's kind of.
Is that because they're on opposite sides though?
I think, no, because in high school they do.
They go across to meet each other.
There's so many freaking guys.
Okay.
And like, but no, there is a value to what you're saying, that you can still have the meaningful interaction. And it also allows the people who don't want any interaction to get the hell out.
One of the best devil's advocates that I saw to this, because it goes exactly with what you're saying, is somebody said, if you're a 17 or a 20-year-old, or if you're an adult, like a professional athlete, and you have to go through the line, like that's what you do, isn't it way less meaningful than somebody actually going out of their way to find you or to shake your hand or to tell you good job? Essentially what we're saying is that the handshake line almost diminishes the genuine, like the genuineness of like doing it.
One genuine conversation be more meaningful than 12 meaningless good games.
I think
There's
so.
something to be said for that. But I think on the other side of it, and as a guy who's coached, it immediately forces the players to get their emotions under control.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to, whether you won or lost, you need to get it together, and you need to be classy and dignified through the line.
Absolutely.
Whether you just won by 2 or lost by 2, in a heartbreaker or you're euphoric.
Sure.
You have to conduct yourself, because if you're euphoric, then the other guys are heartbroken, and you have to handle it as a decent human being.
Yeah.
So there's something to be said for that.
That's true. All right. So this is my outside of the box take, and it's driving me nuts that no one's talking about it, because after this happened, Dick Vitale, who's arguably the most famous college basketball analyst, I don't even know if you call him an analyst, but
college basketball
person in general, he came out and said there should be no handshake lines. Like, professionals don't have a like set handshake line. Right. There should be no handshake line. There were several people who agreed with him within the sport. There are other people who disagree. My thing is that I don't understand why two people having a moment means that nobody else can have a handshake line. And that is just if this would have happened 10, 20 years ago, the first thing out of people's mouths wouldn't have been, well, you shouldn't have handshake lines. Like, it would have the onus would have fell onto the individuals or the people who were allowing this to happen, or who overreacted or handled themselves unfortunately in a bad way. And everyone makes mistakes. Like, I'm not saying that like Juwan Howard should be in jail. I'm sure he made a mistake. I'm sure he feels bad about it, and I'm sure he'll have repercussions for it. What's that? You don't think Juwan Howard feels bad about it?
He has it. You saw the suspension.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do I think he feels? I don't know.
Okay. I think he feels bad about it, because I think he knows that that's what people are going to remember him for right now. But the point I'm making is, the overall general point of this is that I don't think anybody else should or shouldn't have to go through handshake lines just because Juwan Howard had a bad day. And that's how all of these people that I respect reacted.
No, I'm with you. So we have 10,000 handshake lines a year.
Yes.
And because Juwan Howard
had a moment, because the Wisconsin coach had a moment, it's like all of a sudden the rest of us now can't do this thing.
Well,
and it goes deeper than sports and handshake lines. This is how everything reacts now. So all of a sudden one person does something wrong, and now the rest of us just can't do the thing we've always done or want to do.
I'm with you. To take this another step, and this is something that everyone can relate to, when the way as it went through, Juwan Howard was mad. And as I'm sure you would agree, Juwan Howard was way more mad at how his team played than the fact that Wisconsin took a timeout.
Absolutely.
This was just...
I think he's mad at how the season has gone. Yeah. I think it boiled over into that thing.
Preseason top 5?
Oh, they felt like they should have won a championship last year. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
This year, now they might not make the tournament.
Right.
Like they have underachieved immensely.
Yes.
So he is dealing with frustration. This is just the thing. But Juwan Howard goes through the line. Like this is in any relationship of anything. Juwan Howard wants to go through the line and take a pot shot verbally and keep going.
Sure.
And he's like, I'll remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where he wants it to end.
Right.
Now the other coach is like, whoa, I want to explain myself because you're obviously pissed at me and I just want you to hear my side.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why the guy stops him and he tries to explain it. And Juwan Howard wants nothing to do with it. He's just, this is how it's going to be for me. I'm going to say my piece and you're not going to get to speak.
Sure.
The other guy's like, no, I get that you said your piece. Now you're going to hear my piece.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what we take from that is, this is what I take. If you're Juwan Howard, you can't do that. You can't just walk up to another adult and say, I'm going to tell you why I think you're a jerk, but I'm not going to give you the time of day to listen back. Like, if we're going to have a conversation, then let's be man enough to have a conversation. The other aspect is that when things are heated like this, very rarely does anything good come out of it. And anyone who's ever been in a relationship,
Sure.
One of the hardest things to do is to come to this point that in the next 15 minutes, nothing good is going to come out of this. And it's really just best if we walk away. And we can't get to the agree to disagree. We're disagreeing, and let's just walk away.
But the key thing to everything that you just said there is a human aspect to this, and you just went through all of that, and that was where your head went. And there are basketball people where their head went like, should you press when you're down 15 and they have their subs in? Should you call a timeout if the other team is pressing? And all these different basketball questions. I don't understand the people who saw that happen and within 5 minutes decided, well, handshake lines are clearly
the problem is the handshake.
And so for me, and again, like it goes so much further than sports. That is as a society right now, that is our reaction to far too many things. Nothing or nobody is held responsible. It's just simply like whatever is the outside of it must be the issue, and we just shouldn't do that thing anymore. And it's like, well, no, like handshake lines in like generically, handshake lines are a good thing. And I feel like we've shown over 30, 40 years that they can be done.
Yes.
They can be done. They're safe for the most part. Very rarely do like bad things happen out of them. And again, if things are happening during a handshake line that are wrong, I think it says way more about the individuals or the situation than the handshake itself. I think it's revealing issues that now you can try to fix, or you can try to you can look in the mirror and say, why did that happen? Or why did I do that thing? Or you and I all talk about this candidly because it doesn't bother me. You and I used to talk. We had a player that had trouble going through the handshake line. And so we always had a coach directly behind the player. Do you remember me telling you about this?
Yes.
And for me, I wouldn't have wanted to get rid of the handshake line because A, it never would have identified the problem. B, he never would have had to learn how to work through the problem. And he's now a better person for it. To just say, like, if we would have just been like, well, I guess we just shouldn't do handshake lines anymore because that's not how this works.
In hockey, in the playoffs, they don't have a handshake line until the series is over.
Okay.
And the post-series handshake line is a big deal.
Okay.
And it is not quick.
Okay.
Like it is, guys, because hockey's very physical.
Sure.
It's kind of a blend of the athleticism of basketball and the physicality of football.
Sure.
And there are guys that they stop and they talk and they pat, and it is a slow process because it's been 4 games or 5 games or sometimes 7 games.
Yeah.
And the post-series handshake line is a huge tradition in hockey.
Okay.
No, I am with you of the cancel-ish.
Makes no sense.
I don't want to take it to cancel culture because this is a little different. But you're right. It's just the problem is the handshake. Well, we'll fix it. There'll never be a post-game altercation if there's no handshake line.
Yeah,
which
right.
I find that hard to believe.
Right.
Because at some point there'll be a fight.
Right.
But I look
had
at it from the human aspect of it, and one one of the things that I've come to grips with as an adult, there are lots of people. There are people who want to fight. There are people who want to walk away from every fight, and they just, and then there are peacemakers. And the peacemaker wants to make peace now. And it is hard for people to grasp, like, that person is pissed off now, and they are going to be pissed off. They may be pissed off for 2 more minutes or 20 more minutes or 2 more days. I don't know.
Right.
But you can't fix this until they calm down, and you can't calm them down. And I've had this discussion with coaches before. When a kid comes out of the game and the kid's mad, and you want to do these like sit, you need to go let him sit down there and calm down.
Sure.
It may only take 45 seconds.
Right.
But you need to give the kid, and there's all these people like, I'm going to explain to you why you shouldn't be mad right now, and it doesn't work.
No.
It doesn't work.
No, I'm with you. I would have had way more respect for people if they would have come out and said the handshake line is pointless. Because then I would have been like, yeah, you know what? Like, guys can text each other now, and everyone knows, and like, yeah. So if someone would have if that was their argument, but like to just see what happened this past weekend and just be like, this is why we should. It's like, that's insane. Makes no sense at all. So there you go.
I like the handshake line.
I like the handshake line
because
too.
I usually end up talking to a kid or two on the way through.
Yes.
Especially the kid who played the best.
Yeah. I still agree with the guy who said, like, actually doing a handshake line kind of waters down the generosity. I don't disagree with that sentiment.
I do wonder, because I'm always in the handshake line, so I don't watch it from afar.
Sure.
I wonder if the two guys who guarded each other went like head to head, do they then seek each other out? Or do they have a more meaningful moment in the handshake line? That's a good question.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a good one.
Because you can see in both professional and NBA and in NFL, the guys kind of seek each other. They
find out who they want to see and who they, And I think that's way more, what is the word? Genuine? There's another word I'm looking for. There's something.
Authentic?
Yes. Thank you.
I'm like a.
You're nailing it.
I can't think of what is the book now that gives you.
Thesaurus?
A thesaurus. Yes. I was so good at coming up with the words, but I couldn't come up with that one word.
I have to look it up on my phone. Can we finish with the twin story today? Okay, let's finish with the twin story. I sent it to you if I can find you.
Now
all right.
It's time to be creeped out.
Twin story. All right, this one's good. There were 2 babies in Virginia right now who are going viral because they are cousins. However, they are also twin brothers. Let us explain. No, let us explain. I'm reading this. What do you mean? No. I'm reading it. I'm literally reading it. They've got the same DNA because both sets of parents are identical twins. Their moms are identical and married 2 identical twin brothers. So in addition to being cousins, the 2 babies are genetic twin brothers.
They are genetic.
Okay.
Their genetic code is the same. But it doesn't mean when you are brothers, biological brothers, you have the same parents, and they don't.
I would be curious to see how that would hold up in the court of law after a DNA test. Be curious. If they took a DNA test, it would say they're siblings, even though they are technically not. Their parents met in 2017 at a festival for twins and got married a year later. They now all live together in the same house.
Creepy.
You think it's creepy?
Yes.
Why do you think okay, let me ask you this. Twins, what would be the difference if they weren't twins? Would it be less creepy?
Yes.
Why?
Because.
See, that's my fair question. So if it was just 2 brothers happened to marry 2 sisters, they weren't twins, it's less creepy to you than the fact that everybody's twins.
Yes.
You got to explain yourself. Yes isn't enough.
It just is. They all look the same.
They all look the same.
Okay, so what are the immediate jokes that come out about this?
Jokes?
Yes.
I don't have any jokes.
Have they accidentally hooked up with the wrong one?
Well, sure.
What happens if does the one, because you're obviously now attracted.
Have you ever dated a twin?
No.
Okay, can I tell? So real quick.
You have, obviously.
I have. So I dated like an identical twin. And I have always said, I never thought they looked alike. And not only I didn't. I can't explain it to you other than the fact that like I specifically knew that they were different and I was much more attracted to this one than that one.
So, okay. So you're dating. Okay, so let me backtrack here.
Go ahead.
if I would have seen these two, would I have been able to tell them apart?
After spending time with them, yes.
But if they both walked,
if you and I were sitting on a park bench and they walked past us, you might not have been able to tell the difference between.
Okay, so you never ever looked at the sister,
honest to God,
thought, she's hot too.
Never. It was the weirdest thing.
So you thought your girlfriend was hot, but her identical twin sister was not.
Correct. I was attracted to the one sister, but not the other. So the point that I'm making to you is that it's very possible for that to be the case.
More questions here. Were their personalities that different?
Kind of. Yeah. I don't know if that was the reason, but they were certainly different people.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Without a doubt.
Super friends?
They were close.
Twins are always like
yeah, I mean, they were tight. They were close.
But one was much less pleasant.
No, I wouldn't even say that. Like, I was around them a handful of times, and I just found myself that I was attracted to one but not the other. Like, I just was. And to me, there was no, like, dispute. Like, it wasn't even debatable. Like, I just thought one was much better looking at that time to me. Like, it just was.
But they were identical twins.
They are like identical twins, yes.
And now here's my ignorance of twins, because I went to high school. We had like multiple sets of twins in my grade. Mm-hmm. Two of them looked really, really alike. Now, after going to school with them the whole time, you could tell
exactly. Yes,
but they still looked. Really
you thought they were both still attractive.
Yeah,
I just wasn't attracted to the other twin.
Then there were other sets. There was a set of girl twins and a set of boy twins that looked nothing like each other.
Right.
And if you weren't told they're twins, you would have never known.
Right. I know how twins work.
But none of them, they were all, fraternal?
Uh-huh.
I don't think any of them were identical twins.
Okay.
I thought identical twins looked like you can't tell them apart.
Well, some
like the Double Make commercial.
Well, this sounds stupid, but aren't some identical twins more identical than other sets? Because
I don't know.
Well, they have to be, because like when you're going through life, you don't have the same wear and tear, the same scars, the same whatever. Like, there's no way that as identical twins get older, they look more alike. They have to look less alike. They have to.
But not that much.
You don't think so? If anybody knows, please comment on identical twins and whether or not they look less alike or more alike as they get older.
You saw the picture of these people.
Yeah, oh yeah.
They look alike.
I don't disagree.
They are.
Okay, so going back to my original question though, why is that creepy?
Because I just think, and again, I'm one of the billions of people who never dated a twin.
Mm-hmm.
But I can only imagine dating someone. You obviously find them physically attractive because that's part of the reason why you're dating.
Sure.
And then seeing someone who looks like 99% of that person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one of the jokes that we had out when we were talking about this earlier today, they're like, honey, if you continue to piss me off, I'm going to go sleep with your sister. Like,
okay.
Aren't these jokes flying around the house all day?
But why is that a negative, I guess, is what I'm saying?
Because I think there's a certain level of truth to it.
Oh, no, I don't think so. This is the other part too. It shouldn't be surprising that identical twins would be attracted to identical twins.
Oh, I think so.
You think so?
Yeah.
Why though? Because if I have a twin brother,
to the ice cream store, they're not picking the same flavor because they are different.
I understand that, but they might still have the same values, and thus,
you don't date based on values.
You don't think you date based on values?
That mysterious attraction that is.
So far, you think twins are creepy. You don't date based off on value. And what was the other thing? You're crushing it this segment.
I did not say that.
Crushing it.
I did not say twins are creepy. That is not what I said.
You think it's weird they live together?
I think yes.
Why?
Because.
Have you seen my cousin Ryan?
Yes.
Do you think him and I look alike?
No.
People think him and I look alike.
He's like a foot taller than me.
Ryan?
Oh.
2 inches? Not even.
The brother. Now, I also know before I met him that you didn't have. Are you not plugged in? Did you not plug in today?
I don't know.
Why did you not plug in? Why is the cord like that?
Because it's the first day of the week.
So, maybe I'm the only one. Maybe I'm the only one that thinks it's creepy. You do not. Obviously, I'm shallow.
I just don't. I don't think it's. I don't think you're shallow per se.
But I like the handshake one.
I'm surprised. I am surprised that only because of the elements that, like, if I remove the fact that they're twins, you seem much more okay with the situation than if they're not.
I'm seeing The Shining for some reason.
Okay.
Like the twin girl. It's just.
Do you ever see The Great Outdoors?
Yes.
The twin redheads in The Great Outdoors. That's what I always think of when I think of twins. I don't know why, but that's my reference point.
Am I the only one that thinks this is odd?
I bet you're not the only one who thinks it's odd. I'm just surprised that again, it's just the idea that because they're twins is what makes it. Like if I said there were two sets of brothers and two sets of sisters and they whatever, and so the DNA was whatever, like you would just find that less creepy, and I don't understand that part of it.
And I'm also like, what are the odds? My two brothers are twins. You know, that's a difference.
Say it out loud if you're gonna. There's people watching the show. Read it. My two brothers were twins. They went to different rooms all the time. Nobody knew the difference. Today, they were all the way different. I mean, all the way different. I think when you see like this goes back to like we're going to talk about attractiveness, and it's going to become like a shallow conversation. But I think it's okay. Like there's something about attractiveness that I think people relate to. That it's just like your visual representation of the person. And I think there's way more that comes down to that than for attractiveness. Like I do.
The initial.
But I would say even beyond personality. So like this is such a corny example, but even the way someone carries themselves, you can be identical twins, walk through the door, and if one person shoulders are up and like chest is out and they're like confident and they're smiling and but the other twin looks identical and the shoulders are slouched and they're kind of meandering and they don't know. To me, one is clearly more attractive or more perceptually attractive than the other in that moment.
Agreed. So what you're telling me is we'll go with one side of it. We'll go with the girls.
Okay.
So the girls who are identical,
mm-hmm.
and even though they're unique, they have the same DNA. So they meet these two guys
mm-hmm.
who are also identical.
Yes.
And just magically, one is attracted to one and one is attracted to the other. There's no like, because of what you're saying, like the one's more confident, the one's funnier, the one's more gregarious, the one's more outgoing, they don't both like the same one. Well, they just happen to. I like this one. You like that one. Isn't that perfect?
But when you say they would both like the same one, we're assuming they would be the same person, and we already just decided that they're not.
Correct. But wouldn't you?
Do you see what I'm saying?
So, but personality-wise, because attractiveness, like physical attractiveness, they're the same.
Yeah. Because
they're identical. When you see the picture, they're identical.
Sure.
So now we're going to personality-wise, and this person happens to like this. It's just like it works out when I'm a little bit country and I'm a little bit rock and roll. That works out okay. But isn't it?
I think it's
like, what are the odds? Did they flip a coin?
I don't
think
you
take the one on the left.
But you're acting as if these were all split-second decisions, and I don't think they were.
They met at a festival for twins.
Yes, and you don't think that like over time they met up again, and then they went out, and then they did like you're acting as if they saw each other
a year later.
Yes, but you're acting like they saw each other at the festival, and they all like grabbed onto each other and went to the chapel. Like, and it just like I don't think that's what happened here.
Listen, I obviously I am shallow and I'm wrong. I think it's creepy.
All right, that's fine. You're allowed to think that. No one's going to be upset at you.
Good.
Except maybe the twins if they ever watch this, but
I mean,
you don't have any twins in your life, do you? Do you have twins in your life?
No, my grandfather was a twin, but he died before I was born. I never met him.
Okay.
So maybe I met his brother somewhere along the line, but I don't know that.
Okay.
But no, not. I mean, I had friends who were twins.
Sure.
But not.
See, my mom was a twin.
Okay.
She had a twin brother, and the twin brother is my cousin Ryan's dad.
Okay.
And so we've
And that's different to its own. Boy-girl twin is
absolutely.
is very unique.
Yes. And so I have always made the joke that like our DNA would align up closer than the rest of the cousins.
Okay.
Now whether or not that's, I don't know if that's true, but I've always thought, like wouldn't it have to? Like wouldn't it have to make sense that our DNA would align?
I would think.
I would think so too.
And I say it's more unique. I wonder what the mathematics are of it. If you are fraternal twins, what are the odds? Because it seems like twins are more often the same sex. But now that I'm thinking of it, I know lots of people who are twins that are boy-girl.
The other one that's interesting too is the skip generation thing. You know about that? That one always fascinates me too. Like how true it is, how much science is actually behind that. Like twins skipping generations.
I don't know.
So like if your parents are twins, you probably aren't. But if your grandparents are twins, you have a higher likelihood of being a twin.
And don't get me wrong. If you told me that there were twins, especially I think girls.
Yeah.
If there were twin girls who just, grew up together, went to school together, and that they wanted to get married and live together, it would not shock me.
No.
Because they have been like their own,
Sure.
like you're part of me.
Yeah.
And I get that. But when they're identical and they marry guys that are identical, it almost gives this impression that like, I'm afraid to do anything different than you. So we'll actually marry the same person.
I just think when you're around the set of twins, eventually like they just start to not look the same. They just don't, like, you just start to notice, you can tell by the way they talk, by the way they carry themselves, their interests, like even their reactions to things.
Fair.
And so I just feel like the longer you're around them,
the less they look alike.
the less they
Even
look
though
the same.
Look alike, they
Right.
don't look alike. That's fair. You're probably right with that.
That's just what I think. I'm not a doctor. Don't listen to me. Anything else before we go today?
Somewhere along the lines, you dated a doctor.
I did. What's your point?
Did you really?
What's that?
Dated a doctor.
Yeah. Why? I don't understand. Why is that so funny?
Because you've dated twins. You dated a doctor. You know who hasn't dated twins? Me. You know who never dated a doctor? Me.
Yeah, but when did you get married? How old are you?
28.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's not bad. Dating's a weird word though, because dating could be 3 dates. Dating could be 3 months. Dating could be 3 years.
Talking about did you date for 3 dates? Everyone you date had like 6 months.
That's true. Yeah, most of them had like half a year to a year, sometimes more. But yeah, I don't know. People don't date. Like, how do people find out what they want if they don't date? I don't understand.
You are a different breed, man.
You think so?
They were just lined up at your farm.
I don't think that's what it was. Okay, so let's say no, because back up for a second. Let's say like before, like 30 and below.
Okay.
What do you think the average person, let's say a person makes it past 30 to be single. What do you think is the average number of people they've dated?
I would say you got far enough into you got further into relationships than most. Maybe I'm wrong, because yours ended up with a breakup. Like, it's one thing if you go out a couple times and you don't, and you just kind of like, this person isn't for me, and it just...
Sure.
There's a difference between where we stopped dating and breaking up.
Okay.
And you had a lot more breakups.
Yeah, because once you're 6-8 months in, like you've met people and you've done a holiday, like you know what I mean? Like it's hard to go 8 months and not like meet family or not like go.
This ain't the one.
I don't know. I've joked a lot with you before.
Why couldn't she tell 2 dates in?
She probably, yeah, this is a two-way street. I've talked to you before a lot of times. Like, I don't know how many times I was in love, but I have been infatuated a handful of times. And I think those are two very clear differences.
Yeah, I think every single person. Yeah, it doesn't take 6 months to be infatuated.
No, right.
No, it could take 6 minutes.
All right. Well, so I don't think you should hold it against me that I act on infatuations.
I'm not holding it against
you. Okay.
Your situation is unique.
You think so?
I do.
I feel like most people that are single in their 30s, they had to have dated 6, 8, 10 people. You don't think so? Really?
No, I think most people that are single in their 30s that have never been married had the 6 or 7 year relationship. But see, you had that one too.
But I had it so early. Like that 6-year span was from like 17 and a half to just turning 22, 23. Like it was, I mean, I was literally like, I was leaving college like at 22 and a half, and I had already been in a 6-year relationship almost. Like it was, so I had all my 20s with the 6-year relationship under my belt of kind of like, here's what I did wrong, here's what I didn't do wrong, here's what I don't want to do, here's what I do want to do. And listen, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I was like a great person through my 20s. I'm just saying though, like, that 6, 7 years, I had knocked it out before I was 23 already.
I guess.
That's where I think I'm different. I don't think I'm different because I dated that many people through my 20s. I think I'm different because I had a 6-year relationship under my belt before 23.
Oh, yeah.
That's where I think I
and
differed.
And you didn't get married. That is different.
Maybe.
Because people who spend all of college together get married.
You think so?
And then they call it, and then they get divorced, and then they move on.
Is that how it
and
works?
You just kind of,
You say you, like I made all of these choices. For anybody listening, I just want the record to show this was not like I just thought people, like, trust me, there were enough people that disliked me enough after 6 months that I was not their choice. Like, let's not act as if I was just like, like, that is not the case, just so everybody can know.
You seem to always bounce back, though.
Here's someone from Facebook. Jeff, I agree with you. I didn't get married until I was in my 30s, and I dated 8 people. I think if you make it to your 30s, I agree with you. Maybe there's 2 roads. Maybe there's 2 paths there. And one path is the one that you relate to or that you think of, where like from 23 to 27, you have this long relationship. It doesn't work. You get out of it. It takes you a year to get over it. Maybe you date somebody before you turn 30. So really through your 20s, you only dated 1 or 2 or 3 people. I also think there's another path though, where like that is not the case. And you are kind of like figuring it out and floating from, year by year. And I don't know. I think there's a lot of people that get single to 30 without having only dated 1 person or a second person.
No, and I get that, but because I had a buddy that used to tell me I was way too picky.
Okay.
And because like I was trying to think of how many relationships, not nearly as many as you, but like my relationships were a month.
Sure.
And he was like, why? It's like, because this doesn't work.
Okay.
And I was just like, why am I? He's like, well, what about this? I was like, no, because it's just not going to work because there's this or there's that. And I could tell. So
sometimes the not working is what makes it fun. No?
What'd you say?
So sometimes the things that aren't going to make it work is what makes it fun. I don't know. Maybe I'm alone in that one.
There's nothing. You're playing with house money. If she dumps me after this, then I
don't know. There's difference.
Maybe you're onto something. Maybe I should have.
Or you should have, or this is you work through those things and become a better person. No.
Well, I don't know if it's become a better. Like how you see a kid, how long do you take a kid to be like he's not going to be a player?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I relate to that analogy, but
that kid's not going to be very good. He's all right, but he'll never be good.
I'm not sure how you're tying this together.
So I think that's the relationship.
Okay.
You look at 8th grade basketball players all the time and say that kid will be
But see that perspective, and I'm not saying this was your perspective, but the perspective that you just elaborated on, that is a very like me-centric view of it. Like you're essentially saying that like this won't work because but like don't you ever think to yourself like it might not work because of me? Like I have my own flaws that I'm shuffling through and dealing with, or am I too nice thinking that, and maybe that's why I ended up in relationships longer than I should have been?
But regardless of whether it's you, like if I date a chick that hates football, it's over. Like there's no there's no working through this.
That's one of my favorite things about my relationship right now, though.
And she hates football.
No, not football, but that she's not this basketball fanatic.
But it doesn't have to be fanatic.
Uh-huh.
It's not like I could date a vegetarian,
Okay.
but I can't date someone who's going to make me a vegetarian.
Mm.
And if she's like, I can't deal with people who eat meat,
Mm-hmm.
then that's cool. Then go find a vegetarian, but it's not going to be me.
I also think what matters too is like distance, because some of these relationships can go a lot longer if there's distance between you.
Okay.
Because you might not
you don't
see
find all this stuff out right away.
You might not realize that it's not as great as you think it is, or that you're not as great as they think you are.
Longer.
And I can certainly hide mine. So I wonder if that plays into it too. Because I always, like, going through a lot of this, I always thought to myself, like, I always tried to not date somebody that I was too close to. Like, I almost always wanted to end up with somebody that didn't know
anything about it.
I wanted somebody not from my hometown. Kind of. I always thought that would just be better off.
Well, haven't you ever heard that this thing that, like, women decide if they're going to sleep with a guy within the first 5
I have heard that. Do you think that's true?
I mean, I'm sure.
I don't think that's true.
They can rule some out.
Okay.
Maybe they can rule a lot out, but yeah, I don't think it's that simple.
I don't think
because
that's
I think
true.
women are way too complicated to make anything that simple.
You think so?
Yes.
Huh. I mean, it kind of defeats the whole purpose of, like, wooing someone if the person is already making these things.
The mystery of people, because when you first meet someone, there's the mystery.
Sure.
And if they're
I think there are.
Maybe we should have women. Can you decide in 5 minutes?
I think there are certainly check marks or boxes that, like, can add you to the list or take you off the list in 5 minutes.
Sure.
I think there's that. Like this sounds awful. If you walk in, I know for a fact when I used to walk into places, like, through my 20s, like, I'm 5'9", 5'10" on a good day, and I knew, like, for some
on a good day, like,
on a good day,
days that you're 5'6".
Well, listen, if I'm having a rough day and my shoulders are slouched, like, I'm 5'6". Now, listen, if I'm feeling good about myself and I'm 5'10", 5'11", it all depends.
Like, people step on the scale. Like, oh,
they do.
Like, I'm down a couple inches.
I'm telling you right now, on my worst days when I would walk in somewhere, I was 5'6". I had some days where the sun was shining down on me. I was 6'1" easily on some days. Here's what I'm saying, though. Like, there are places, like, when you walk in, when I would walk in somewhere, I knew because I'm 5'10", I was already off the list. Like, I was just, and it was what it was. So I do think there are certain parameters that certainly take you on or off the list.
Yeah, absolutely. There's smoking. There's there's certain aspects. So I'm just laughing at this. Whenever I go to get my driver's license renewed, I just tell the person how tall I am because I know. For you, who knows?
Every day's different.
Need a measuring stick.
You've never heard that before?
Because you might be, who knows how tall you are.
You know, like 5'10" on a good day.
So the cop pulls you over and says, you're not 6'1". You're like, well, that day I was.
That day you were. You've never heard that expression before. People ask you how tall you are. 5'10" on a good day.
No, I have not.
Right.
I have told you this story now. And I was the PA announcer for it was a district championship playoff game. Okay. And I knew some of your players, like not knew them, but to talk to them and stuff like that.
Sure.
So I'm the PA announcer, so and I'm take my job professionally, so I'm getting their height. Sure. So who better than I asked the player? And some of them were like, one of them, Gerald Ross at the time, he said, I feel 6'3", but you should probably only say 6'2".
He knows.
And so a couple of them, and one of them was like, yeah, how tall are you? He was like, 6'3". And that was it. Yep. And like, so some of them were in on the joke. Yeah. And I remember Jeff, he said it really, he goes, I feel 6'3" today. But you should probably only say 6'2". Yeah. How tall are you? 6'3". Okay. So.
Can't help those people. They're locked into what they are.
They're locked in, yeah.
Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show. Thank you to Weiss Markets for being our sponsor. And be sure to go to NorthcentralPa.com for all your local news.
That's it. That's all I got. Enjoy your Tuesday.
All right. I'm Jeff Everett.
All over.
He's Mark Messina. Thanks for watching.